My church and I just did backing tracks for our own arrangement of Amazing Grace. It took us like 2 hours, tops. It's not that hard. Here's the end result, and then we'll get into it, right? It's not super complicated, and that's the whole point of this video. Here's an overview of the tracks that we got going on. You can ignore this. This is the acoustic guitar. This was the vocal. We needed scratch tracks to track everything to. So we got a little bit of percussion, nothing crazy, a shaker, and a tambourine. Tambourine doesn't come in till later on. Tambourine ends up being more of a higher dynamic section type of instrument. So we bring it in like during the choruses, right? But then maybe during the second verse, you've just got the shaker during that second half. A lot of this is just about dynamics. Like that's how you decide where stuff goes. If it's a more down section, you're using the softer percussion. If it's a bigger section, you're using more percussion or just more layers in general. Those are the only percussive elements we've got. We've also got a couple of risers here at the beginning. They're both, I think, tonal. Right, so we're in the key of G. This riser is in the key of C major, so it's playing the 4, but we come in on the 4, right? So it actually works out super well to swell in along with the electric guitar here, and then this one here is the 1, but a little bit quieter. And that's got your higher end like white noise information in it. So all together you have it's not super obvious, but that's also because you're going to have a pad run. So we're building this for multi-tracks. If I wasn't clear, we're building this for multi-tracks, and so we're going to be using their pad function just built into the app for our iPad. That's why we don't have any like traditional pads. We're going to have something holding the 1 and the 5 that's going to ramp us into that. And then you'll have, you know, in your ears, intro, 2, 3, 4, and it'll drop in. So much for our percussion. The interesting stuff here is the melodic. So we have both our worship leader and associate worship leader playing guitar tracks here, just so we have a couple of layers. Couple tones. One guy's playing a lot of diamonds and chord changes. The other one is a little more rhythmic. You'll hear that they're in mono. Very boring. Reason being, all of our tracks run in mono. That's just how our church is set up. To be honest, I don't know if other churches run them in stereo. If you guys do stereo, you might want to track them in stereo, or at least like, you know, go after the fact and put like an amp simulator in dual mono with like different cabs or things of that nature. Next, we got us a synth bass. Very basic, very standard. It's straight up just like a sine wave with a little bit of distortion. For you production nerds like myself, I'm doing all of this with either stock or free plugins. All of these instruments, well, I say all these instruments, yeah, these ones are all, I believe, Logic instruments. Yeah, Retro Synth. Nope, that's Serum. I lied. Well, stock and free until until we get to this second synth layer, and then it's Serum with what? With just one of their preset keys. But aside from that, everything is either stock or free. I think the only non-stock like effects plugins I'm using here is Space Blender, which, by the way, secret sauce. Put this preset slow leader on your keys with like just low in the mix, and that'll turn any worship keys into like keys with an intelligent backing pad. Super cool. Let's get back on track. Couple of guitar tracks, a very simple sine wave bass just to fill out the low end beneath our bass player. Some Arps here. Let's play these guys by themselves. Sounds kind of janky by itself. Listen, bro, I was messing with some ideas and my worship leader goes, hey, bro, just put an ARP on it and do like a third. And so I played a third. I'm like, this is kind of, I don't know. And he says, that's perfect. Just drop the volume super low and leave it there. I will confess, I did not get the vision at first. And we kept building layers and I was like, oh, I see what he's doing. He's using it almost as a percussive element with melodic information in it. So you're not really hearing it until you get to places like the verse. And you almost can't hear anything but the attack of the Arps. And that was the idea, was to just be a percussive element that's got like a little bit of melodic information to it. The last thing we have in here is this stack, this chord stack, which is 3 different instruments together. We got us a Whirly, again, stock Logic. We've got, I don't even know what this is, another one of their presets, Powered Tube Piano. That's just straight up in the browser. I just found it and we liked the way that it felt. And then I believe we're only using, so this is another synth, just a big analog lead synth, but I've got it automated to come in during the intro and the choruses well, and I guess verse 3, and drop out in verse 1 and 2. Again, it's just to add some dynamic changes. So if you have like, just hitting the chord changes. And there's not a lot of sustain on it. So what you're really hearing is those tube keys holding out the, right? Because a whirly doesn't have any sustain on it whatsoever, just decays right out. And that synth lead, I didn't mess with the decay on that end either because we've already got a pad like holding steady. I don't need anything else to be doing that. So that's legit all the instruments we used. This took us like 2 hours tops. A side note, we don't yet have a lead electric. We will be adding a lead electric line to this. Our lead electric player has not sent me that yet. But that's the only other thing we're going to add. That's the whole tracks. And it took us like a morning of just kind of dinking around and figuring out what we wanted. Say all that to say, tracks don't have to be super complicated. Like me, I would love to get into the weeds with this whole thing and be super intentional with like adding more risers and like impact elements, spending a lot of time like fine tuning the dynamics of the thing. But that's not what my worship leader wanted. He said, hey bro, this thing's on the schedule in 3 weeks and we have nothing to run through multi-tracks. Let's get it together. I just want you to know it doesn't have to be this like great big massive thing. I would like for it to be, but you could also make perfectly serviceable tracks that will do their job and do it well in a morning if you have somebody that knows what they're doing and have somebody that can play the guitar when the other guy doesn't know what they're doing. That's all you really need. Like it could just be a couple of synth lines and some backing electric guitar and you're off to the races. Yeah, that's it. No like big call to action, no sample pack to sell you. I just didn't realize it was going to be this easy to make backing tracks for a song. And I thought maybe somebody else who's a little intimidated by it can see this and realize, hey, we can actually like level up our church's sound, start making our own arrangements, start making our own backing tracks for our arrangements. And it's not going to be as difficult or as cost prohibitive as I might have originally thought. That's all. Love you guys.